Okay, calling our meeting to order. And if you could please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty. Okay, Mrs. Sugars, can you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Stratton,
Here.
Mrs. Fleischer,
Here.
Mrs. Gallagher,
Here.
Mr. Greenbaum,
Here.
Mr. Mayor,
Here.
Dr. Root,
Here.
Mrs. Tong,
Here.
Mrs. Winters,
Here.
Ms. Stern.
Here. Okay, we do not have any board recognition tonight, so we will go on to presentations. If we could have, they're so fast. We're ahead of schedule, so we will wait for Dr. Morton to return with Allison Staffen and Christy Blondetto. Okay, so we will adjust the, oh, are we good or should we go to correspondence? We're good? Okay. All right. That's fine. No worries. I know you did not expect us to be this efficient tonight, but we are. We're moving through.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Stern. So we have two of our secondary CNI supervisors here with us this evening to provide course of study updates for us, Allison Staffen and Christy Blondetto. So tonight, we're just going to go through updates as we prepare to share the full course of study booklet January 2nd at our CNI meeting. So I'll turn it over to Allison.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Allison Staffen. I am supervisor of curriculum and specifically ELA, Social Studies and World Language. And this is my counterpart.
Hello there. Thank you. Christy Blondetto. I am our another secondary CNI supervisor, math and science for me.
So good evening. Tonight's presentation is just an overview update of what's happening with our course of study. Our course of study is in preparation for the 24-25 school year. And right now our focus is math, and math. And we really wanted to highlight for you this evening what's happening with the math pathways that have been introduced to the Board of Education in prior meetings and where we're headed for the 24-25 school year.
Right. So this hopefully looks familiar to everyone who has been following our math pathways. We are starting the rollout in our 24-25 school year with new courses. The goal here is to expand beyond our traditional offerings, creating a program that supports access for all students to a high level math course, should they choose. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah. So currently we have a variety of ways that we support our students, specifically in our high schools. We use our seminar classes. So students can choose to be enrolled in an additional math support class that aligns with either Algebra 1 or geometry, offered at both of our high schools. Excuse me. We are also looking at ways we can support success in algebra and beyond, starting in our middle schools and working our way up. So it's ever present on all of our minds. Again, this should look familiar. Here we have what has previously made its way through the board, our 3 math pathways, starting with a common pathway. Algebra and then geometry. New Jersey requires those two courses, and then a third math course that follows building upon the algebra and geometry that's already started. It doesn't specify what that third course needs to be. And our hope here is that we're going to draw more students into mathematics and have students taking math beyond just the required 3 years. Also noteworthy that students have the option to start that pathway in 7th, 8th, or 9th grade. So that has not changed. You can see on the right that we have a variety of courses. We have 2 new courses that we'll talk about starting next school year, the quantitative reasoning and introduction, oh, I didn't miss it there, the data science course. We also have 5 additional courses that won't start until the following school year. So a little bit about our 2 new math courses. We have quantitative reasoning, which aligns to our quantitative literacy pathway. This is a pathway focused on, excuse me, financial literacy, business, and aligning with a variety of potential career goals. We're working out details to share with the board at a later date for that, and working on helping families and students make choices on which pathway will be right for them. Data science fits into our statistics pathway. This is looking at careers in research, medical fields, potentially science, and how we use statistics in our everyday lives and professionally. These courses are planned to run at an AH level, so it's a unified level, which again fits with our overall plan for equity, bringing more students in, helping students feel that these courses are attainable. Ideally, we'd love to see the number of students taking honors grow over time as well.
And then the third course that will be added to the course of study is falling under English, and it would be a broadcasting and meeting production, broadcasting 3 course. It adds to the already present broadcasting 1-2 media sequence. This would be a third course. We've added filmmaking in the past 2 years. This allows students to take a route either. If I really like the editing and filmmaking version, writing my own scripts, I would continue broadcasting 1, broadcasting 2, and filmmaking. If I really like that broadcast media production piece, this allows them a full year in that broadcasting media production using the skill set that they derived out of broadcasting 1 and broadcasting 2. That will be a full year offering, where broadcasting 1 and 2 currently are only half year. So there was also a change in the course structure. So this is not a new course into the course of study. However, it is a change in one of our current math courses. So we currently offer a computer programming course. So this would take that full year computer programming course, and it would divide it into 2 semesterized courses. So the first semester would be the Introduction to Computer Science, again offered to grades 9 and 12. It's a 2.5 credit elective. And then the second course would be computer programming. It would be the second half. So your prerequisite course would still be the Introduction to Computer Science. It would be the second half, again, grades 9 through 12. And you have to successfully complete the one. The purpose for the split was really to be able to provide greater access to students to computer programming courses, and a better opportunity for them to fit them into their schedule without having to take an entire year of it all at one time. But it allows them to piggyback up against other electives that they're interested in. So our timeline, we're actually have been working with Dr. Milo, and unfortunately December to January won't work now in the schedule. So Dr. Milo will be with us for multiple days in March to help with the writing and finalization of the 2 new math pathway courses, quantitative reasoning and data science. In addition to that, between February and June, the broadcasting media and production, broadcasting 3 and computer program will have an opportunity to begin computer program to kind of revise into 2 semester courses, broadcasting 3 to develop that course and curriculum in preparation for a September rollout. Any questions? Mrs. Stern.
So first of all, thank you. It's very exciting. this is like, we've been waiting and waiting. We're happy this is here. So thank you. Fantastic. A few things, just as a small note, if Dr. Milo's work is going to be in March, if it's pushed back, if that could be changed on the slides.
Yes.
Because this will be posted under presentations. So we want to make sure that the accurate information is.
Yes, Dr. Morton he has that correction.
Great, thank you, fantastic. So can we talk about, I know you're offering A and H level. So how are our students who normally are in ICR classes? So these are students who need extra support with special needs. How are they going to be supported and the frequency in these classes?
Do you want to do that? Sure. Okay.
And will it apply to all of the math pathway classes? Because that's a heavy lift.
Yeah. So as with any other ICR situation, when we have a student whose IEP directs supports the need for an in-class support teacher, we assess that if that is indeed what their IEP supports, then that is something that we move toward.
So how, let's say you have a student in either A level or honors level, let's say multivariable calculus. I'm not sure that currently actually, that there's a pathway for those students who need that support at that level. We've had that conversation for years at the board level about honors classes. And obviously now we have multiple math pathway classes, right? I mean, this is, and this is a conversation I know we've had a little bit, but I guess I'd like to really understand, is that going to be achievable? With the frequency of the classes, how they meet, with the staffing we have, or if there's other pathways at those, that the instruction is delivered to support those students.
Yeah, so as we look at the introduction of these new courses that we are discussing, you heard Ms. Blundetto mention the configuration of the class will look slightly different than the separated classes as in the past. There will be ICR available for the students, and the students will have an opportunity to work along with peers as well at the A level and H level also. So essentially, ICR will be available at all levels because those levels will be present within a singular classroom or a singular section.
So it sounds like the instructions differentiated within the
Bingo.
same classroom, a singular classroom of H and A level combined.
Yes.
Pretty ambitious.
Yes.
Ambitious.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
we are ambitious.
Yeah.
I like
It
it.
is ambitious. It is a possibly newer for us, but not a new idea and not a new format.
Well, and I think I know there are different levels at the middle school level, but I also know with Eureka, there's differentiation within the Eureka, right? That part of the curriculum. So I'm transposing that idea that there's that similar level of differentiation that's going to happen.
Yeah. So we have our unified levels at the middle school. And then same idea. Yep. So classes and students who need the support get the support.
So for my own family, this is 4 years too late, but I'm really happy that it's happening. I think it's exciting. I think the AB calculus has been a glaring missing piece. And I know that the curriculum is more integrated into pre-calc honors, but it's really exciting to see. It's necessary, but it doesn't inhibit us from offering multivariable. It's a high level challenging class that a lot of districts don't offer. So I'm glad we can still do that and offer all the other things. I mean, I think data science is huge. We know that, we see that. I think, we're offering a much more, I don't even know the right way to say it, but I think when there's a level of paralleling that we see to, I think, what happens in higher ed too. I mean, we see these kinds of avenues at higher ed. So it's nice to see our kids are going to get exposure to this. And if they're interested in it, they'll be able to follow it. And then if it's an area to take their education further with, they'll either have it with their completed K through 12, or, they get to take on, go on with it at the next level. And that's a huge advantage for our students. My son's taking discrete math in college, and it's kicking him pretty hard, but he took discrete in high school. And I don't know how many, I don't know, maybe it's a common offering. I'd be surprised if it's commonly offered throughout this country in high school. So,
I think that often.
yeah. So it's just, it's nice to see. Mrs. Winters.
Thank you. I just had a question about the STEM pathway. If you could put that slide back up the way that it was presented. Thank you. So I think in the beginning of the presentation, it was talking about how the anticipation for the STEM pathway is that it's starting with 7th grade in Algebra 1. But that's a very narrow cohort of students, and that's not a common pathway, my understanding is, for students to take. So could you just talk a little bit about how that's going to work? And I mean, my understanding is that most students will access Algebra 1 in 8th grade, and we're looking to expand that as well, and then some in 9th grade. Can you just talk about how that progression will work through?
Yeah, absolutely. So students who start the common pathway in 8th grade would just need to, if they choose to, if they're trying to get to multivariable calc, they're just going to need to double up in a year. So take a math and then a second math as an elective.
Okay, and on the STEM pathway, differentiated from the other two, Algebra 2 will be offered at the A level, and then Functions Honors will still exist at the H level, or are we going to change that as well?
Right now, it still exists. I know there's been talk in the past about what courses are named what, and functions is a tricky name because it doesn't really exist elsewhere. So I think there's already conversations, and I expect there will be more conversations about what the naming of courses should be. So we're not necessarily looking to remove anything, but making sure that the naming construct fits with what colleges or universities are
And as you
expected to
progress
see.
through and we're adding courses, I'm assuming that certain things will emerge as popular pathways and certain things may not be as popular going forward. The AP Calculus AB course. So is that anticipated to follow Algebra 2 pre-calculus and then AP AB? I'm just trying to picture how this is going to work because the BC course has existed for a long time. And that's that other track, the Functions Honors, because that's mostly pre-calc, is my understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit of Algebra 2 and a lot of pre-calc, and then on to APBC. But how would you get to APAB? Is that sequence going to follow then?
So I think it offers us options.
Okay.
So right now, Calculus A is offered, and it is a majority of the curriculum that would be covered in an AP/AB course. So we're really looking at building that out, aligning it to the CED, and making sure that it's the course itself that we're offering prepares students to take that AP exam. Yeah, and we were just having this conversation again. Lots of further conversations on it. I think it offers options for students to go up to AB, to go past it, to BC, to multivariable. It creates a lot of different opportunities for students to do what interests them and what aligns with their future plans.
One of the things I loved about this concept in previous conversations before I was on the board was that students can they're not stuck in one track. That if I get to Algebra 2 and I decide where I really want to be is on the statistics pathway, I can jump over and take a course over there if that's the direction. I mean, if I were in high school right now, the statistics pathway is definitely where I would be. I just think it's fascinating, and I think it's really helpful for kids who are going for certain kinds of careers. And I think it'll be really nice to prepare them. And that, the concept of kids not being tracked so early and stuck and unable to sort of pivot and get off of it because our interests change as we get older. I had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up when I was in 7th or 8th grade. I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. But I love that idea of the flexibility in math and also having math courses that engage kids where they are and that they find interesting and useful for preparing them to where they want to be. Because not all of us need to get to multivariable calc. I sure didn't. But statistics would have been really helpful in high school.
And this graphic is somewhat outdated in that in more recent versions and as we update things, we'll have some cross connections as well to help make that more evident that they're not linear pathways, they are cross connected.
And I completely appreciate that. And I think, part of the challenge of this conversation is that this whole idea of reimagining middle and high school math started before the pandemic. And now we're almost in the middle of the conversation, because the conversation was about detracking the 7th graders. And then it was about ITF changing to Eureka algebra for consistency there. And then we were having conversations about, okay, we're doing Eureka squared in middle. Let's do it in elementary. And that's piloted and then going to happen. So there's a lot of change going on right now. And I think what's going to be fascinating is to see the connections made across the levels so that it's one singular continuum going forward. And then the branches in the high school as kids figure out what their interests are. So really, I'm just complimenting you because I know it's been long. I went back to 2019 to try to prepare for tonight's presentation and just to see the evolution of the changes that have been made every year. It's significant change in our math curriculum. And I think it's really going to bear fruit for our kids going forward. And just to echo what Ms. Stern said, I'm really thrilled about the AP/AB course. I think that's going to make AP Calc more accessible for a lot of our students. BC is just a heavy lift. And it's, for a lot of kids, it's lovely. And for a lot of kids, it may not be where they need to go. So it's nice to have an alternative. So can you describe a little bit more about, because I didn't know this until tonight, the combined AH level for the 2 new courses, quantitative reasoning and data science? Because I didn't realize it was going to be a differentiated but combined course.
Sure. It's similar to something called earned honors. So students would be in a unified course, and students could, and some of this is, the exact process is yet to be determined. But the idea is that students could pre-enroll in an honors or A-level course, but they could also choose to elevate from A to honors before that drop date. And so it's hopefully going to allow students to be in the space where that learning is happening and realize that they can do that work, to be in with peers who are doing the honors level work and realize that it's not a huge extension, not a requirement for all students, but it's accessible.
That is really neat. And that goes with all of the goals that were stated a few years ago about making sure that upper level math courses were accessible to all of our students with support. And I just really want to compliment you on that, because from the conversations that were had when all of this was started a few years ago, one of the big concerns was that if you were on that honors track, that's where you were. And it was a very small cohort of a specific type of student who was able to access those courses. And the idea of opening up accessibility to higher level math for all kids who can handle it with support. And I think you've seen the effectiveness of that with what you guys have done with the 7th grade math students, because it used to be that there were the separate tracks, but then combined with support, kids really can access that curriculum. So I think it's a really neat idea. I can't wait to see what it looks like going forward. So thank you.
Other board member questions, comments? Current, Ms. Elmer Stratton.
I actually just wanted to hear from our high school representatives on their thoughts on the pathways.
Ooh. First of all, thank you. Let's move this. Very well thought out presentation. Thank you for your hard work. This might have already been answered. The quantitative literacy pathway and the statistics pathway, those are all labeled as pathway courses. The courses over here, are those the pathway courses on the right side of the screen? They will be put into that graph.
Yeah, what I think is one of the best parts of the pathway program is that I don't know that we'll ever have those stacked out in advance, because there are options. Most of them don't have required prior coursework beyond what's already in our requirements. And so without the need to take a certain progression, students can choose to pick and choose which ones they would like to take. So we will certainly offer ones that align more with quantitative literacy versus statistics, but students aren't limited to which ones they choose.
So if a student, middle of the year or at the beginning, or when they're doing course selection, decided that their interest in math had shifted, maybe off of the STEM pathway, they could pick up in the statistics pathway and the quantitative literacy pathway.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate the inclusion of having specific pathways so that way students are more aware of the options they have in terms of specific math pathways. Obviously, not everybody in the school wants to go into math, but it's still a very important skill for people to learn, since it can be applied in many different fields. And this can give people a better reference for how they can utilize different pathways in their specific field that they wish to enter in the future.
Ms. Elmer Stratton, anything else? You accomplished it. You got the students to participate in the middle of our board meeting. Mrs. Fleischer, you're up next.
Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Silmer Stratton, for doing that. And thank you both for giving us your input for students, because I was going to talk about my students too, that of my kids. I think what we've talked about a lot is success for students, and that comes in so many different ways. And this is just another example that we've been able to sort of fulfill this. I know with my students, when they went through, I had students that, sort of, they were stuck on a path, and sometimes they were successful, sometimes they weren't. It was extremely frustrating, and it didn't make them feel successful. They were always fighting against it. If we had these type of options, I think students will feel more successful because they'll have more options. They'll be able to sort of extrapolate it out to, like what Matthew was saying, like for their careers and what they're looking for, and they make more of a direct connection to a real world. So thank you both, and thank you to the staff for doing this, because I think it's a wonderful step in that right direction. So thank you.
Ms. Gallagher.
So two questions. One is, how will students be able to discuss, like, with their guidance counselor about paths that might work for the student? And then secondly, do you know, like, how many students, like, are currently interested in these non-traditional pathways? So, like, if you take, like, the population as a whole, like a percentage that would choose the two new options or those two new pathways? I don't know if you know, but, like, obviously there's a need for it. So I wasn't sure if you knew, like, off the top, or.
I don't know that I have a number. I don't know that any of us have a number yet. We'll find that out as we start doing enrollment this year and moving forward. For the how will guidance counselors know, how will students know, how will families know, we're actively updating the old presentation, so the Invigorating High School Mathematics, so that it aligns with everything that we currently have, and our dates are updated. And then we're also adding additional information for guidance counselors, and making sure that each member of the support team has the tools they need and the information they need to help students make choices.
And then to add to that, prior to rolling out the scheduling process with students, we will meet with the counselors in advance, roll it all out, answer any questions that they might have, or any questions that students may have come to them with, so that they will be prepared to be able to answer those questions. So that'll all come out. There's several meetings that will be in play between now and the time students actually come home with their course selection sheets and say, this is what I want to do, this is how I want to do it.
Perfect, thank you.
Mrs. Tong?
Thank you, Ms. Stern. I just want to say thank you to these two beautiful ladies giving us the update for the college and career aspiration. I enjoyed that presentation. I think well, at least I know we're in the right direction going forward. So let's continue. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
No questions. Just want to thank you again. I know this is difficult work, and it seems easy. It's just a handful of slides, and we all know how difficult that really is. But I want to particularly thank you, and I'm very excited to see what the new pathway courses, those that are, even though students may not be available, they may not be available this year. These are the type of courses in statistics, data visualization, and business statistics that they have more of a practical feel to them, I think, knowing that there are a lot of students that still, math is a trigger word for them. But it is, it's a tremendously important skill set to have, and it is the applicability, especially in data visualization, statistics, crosses all sorts of enterprises. It's not just math, it's not just science. So the opportunity that our students in the future will have to get a great understanding of these concepts before they even walk into a college classroom. For those that are going on to college, will give them an immeasurable advantage moving forward. So I'm really thankful that, you know, these are going to be added. Great work, hard work. Thank you, and you will always have our support going forward.
And I'm sorry, just give me 1 second. I'll come back to you, I promise. So do any other board members have any other comments or questions? I do have 2 more questions. First, one is what type of PD or training are we doing for our teachers and our special ed support folks to get them ready? This is a pretty big shift. Especially the combined or unified, I'm not sure what it's called, combined class. I'm thinking of, my own child's experience freshman year in Algebra 2 was a flipped classroom. It was not a model that worked for him. And he dropped 2 levels of math the next year for that reason. This is exactly solves this problem for that situation. I know that there's a rationale behind it. I've heard high school teachers talk about that as the rationale, part of the wasn't the rationale, it was part of it, give more flexibility. But like, this is pretty significant. When we did the changes at Eureka Math, my first year on the board, part of our conversation was, how are we training our middle school? What kind of PD are we giving our middle school math teachers? How are we training? And honestly, it was in hindsight, it probably needed to be a little bit more robust. So I'm wondering what we're doing for them at the high school level.
So I will start, and then, so last year in preparation for this, knowing that these pathways were coming into play for the 24-25 school year, we did bring Dr. Milo in, and he ran full day workshops for every high school math teacher, regardless of what they were teaching. Every high school math teacher and their ICR support teachers were involved in training in both quantitative reasoning and data science, so that when they became part of the course of study, everybody was familiar with what this work was, what it would look like, and how they could talk to their students about it, because they are with them every day. So they could look at their students and say, hey, you know what? You're really strong here. You might want to start thinking about data science or quantitative reasoning. So that was the foundational work that we put into place last year for them.
And all I'll add on to that is that part of what we're doing now is every time we do any meetings, every time we're doing something with Eureka, every time we're looking at PD, whenever possible, we want our special ed teachers included in that training. I have had a couple people tell me, I'm a special ed teacher, I'm not a math teacher. And I'm like, if you're in a math class, you're definitely a math teacher. And so helping teachers feel more comfortable, regardless of what their background is or why they're in that room, to feel comfortable supporting all students, and trusting that they have value to add and that they're there intentionally and to support students.
And the hope is that the teachers that are writing the curriculum with Dr. Milo are the teachers that are going to be teaching the coursework, so that he can be providing them professional development through the writing of the curriculum, so that they feel very comfortable and confident in what that curriculum looks like and where it will lead the students into their next courses.
Thank you. And then my other question is, this goes back to the question about the students, preparing the students, because this is really pretty significant shift, having, 2 more high school students currently. And I didn't mention this before, but business calculus, I mean, we have a huge DECA program. We have a huge interest in many business classes. It's huge. I'm very excited to see that. I guess really helping the students understand these decisions and what parent education are we doing? Are there going to be updates sent out by, the level level principal, assistant principal, for, so that the parents know going into, the parents who might be involved in helping their students look at classes and course of study, like, I just think it's such a shift. I don't know that high school parents realize, or nor students. And I want to make sure everyone has enough information for this to be, to really make the successful choices. A lot of kids don't know what they want to study. Many kids don't know what their, higher, upper level, high school students don't know what they want to study when if they go to college, they don't know what they want to study. So they need a lot of guidance. So, or some of them do.
Yeah, Ms. Stern, you make very good points in reference to everything you just mentioned. So the guidance counselors at the high school level are integral parts of this process. They are intimately involved, and as you know, they sit down with students to go through the scheduling process for the configuration of student schedules. They're involved and will be involved in moving forward. Information will be shared, I guess, globally, but the intimate one-to-one conversations that take place with the guidance counselors are very important because the guidance counselors understand the pathway and the aspirations that individual students have. And that's the whole idea behind this, to align course interests with what students are interested in doing and studying as they move on and leave us.
So it is, I think, there's a lot of like parent education nights that we offer, like for freshmen and for every level. Is it in the thought process to perhaps present this shift as like a parent education night, whether virtually or in person, just to kind of, because I can't keep saying it enough. This is such a major shift in our education at the high school level. I don't know if
Yeah.
if that's been a discussion point, but
Yes.
I mean, even more so than Eureka Math. I mean, Eureka Math is, it's a different curriculum model, right? Like this is totally different from that. So
Short answer is yes.
thank you. Okay, thank you.
And then
I'll
one
take
of
a
the
short
things,
answer.
that we started doing last year that we found really effective with our brand new courses is having the staff create a one-pager so that they have one page of information. These are the highlights of what you really need to know in making this decision, so that they kind of have something more tangible at their fingertips rather than a few sentences in the course of study book. So we're working on all of those things for all of our new courses. And these two will definitely be part of that.
And I'll sneak on top of that, I was having a conversation earlier today about science and about fields outside of math as well. And I think we're going to hopefully see a good cross connection with the newer courses that will roll out, not this coming year, but the following year, supporting just such a broad array of interests that ideally we're going to draw students in, not just because it's a math class, but because it supports a lot of their future interests.
Cross-curricular. Excellent. Dr. Rude.
Want to throw out there that speaking to what Mrs. Stern was talking about with the shift, maybe having some sort of PSA, public service announcement, kind of a video description of the pathways aimed at students, so eighth graders coming in, like they're going to have very little idea which path they really want to go at. Well, a lot of kids will not have a clear idea of what path they want to be on, and they may not, they have to start with algebra and geometry anyway, so that gets them started. But kind of having some kind of description for the students and for their parents who maybe weren't great at math themselves, might be good to have, why would you want to go into, this particular track or this part or that other track, and why would you not be on the traditional track of, algebra 2 and calculus, and which, I was on that track and it was fine, but I don't use it. I'm a scientist. I really would have liked statistics. That would have been great. But I think it'd be good just to have some sort of more interactive, or not interact, but a better description than like I don't see kids reading a piece of paper, but maybe watching like a 5-minute YouTube style video in class just to kind of get their bearings would be great. Just an idea.
Thank you for the suggestion.
Mrs. Winters.
Just to build off that, and again, this is just because we really want this to be successful and viable for everybody. One of the questions I've heard from other high school parents is, but how will colleges look at these alternative courses on a high school transcript? And I think if we describe these courses accurately and show how they're connected to the sciences, to future career aspirations, that might help ease those fears. Because what I wouldn't want to happen is what Dr. Rude said, which is parents take a look at this and say, no, absolutely not, you're taking pre-calc. Because I took pre-calc in 1990, and that's what we should definitely be doing, So I think there's a little bit of an education piece to make sure that enough parents buy into what we're trying to do and see this as a truly viable choice for their children and one that will help them to be successful. Because if parents don't think that this is good, these alternate pathways, these newer pathways will lead their kids to success in college or getting into the college that they want to, they may not encourage them to go in that direction where it actually might be quite beneficial. Just to piggyback off what you said about science, I just want to make sure, so kids will still be taking the sequence of biochem and physics, which is the sequence I took in high school. These courses, the new math courses, will enable them to access those at all levels, right? It's not like you need, if you're taking, the honors level physics, you needed to take the STEM pathway. They'll all be able to access the sciences as well.
We haven't looked at adjusting any prerequisites, so I would say whatever is currently in our course of study would hold true. But yeah, physics is our third year science, so.
Awesome, thank you.
Any other board member comments or questions? Back to Matt.
Thank you, Ms. Stern. The one thing I will add, in addition to educating high school parents and students about the new pathways as well as course selection, it's important to educate 8th grade students and 8th grade parents about these issues because when I was an 8th grade student and entering into course selection, I really had no idea what I was doing. And a lot of people felt the same way. So being able to educate those students, not just about math pathways, but course selection in general would greatly help people feel more comfortable and feel like they had a greater foot in the door when they're entering into high school.
And this will be part of our course of study night with 8th grade.
Okay, great. Thank you, fantastic.
Thank you.
Beyond excited.
Thank you.
All right. All right, and now we will go on to administrative reports. We have no administrative reports. We go to correspondence. Do any board members have correspondence? Mr. Greenbaum.
Thank you. Last week, I had the pleasure of joining the Fair Funding Committee, and in the regular meeting, they talked about how one of the goals of the committee is to be heard in Trenton. In the last year, we've received increased state funding, received a preschool expansion grant, ROD grants for new construction, and a grant for high-intensity tutoring. And the committee is looking for ways to communicate to our lawmakers and thank them for hearing us and ensure that we keep the conversation open. There are also some discussions about class size, teacher recruitment and retention, and how advocating for additional state funding can help address some of these concerns as well. And as always, we appreciate the hard work of the Fair Funding Committee.
Great update. Other board members have correspondence. Mrs. Winters.
So I was here, there, and everywhere, which was a lot of fun. I started off at Thomas Paine for the Ruby Bridges Walk, which was a really wonderful event. And I also I was there with Ms. Stern, and we got to peek at the new playground over there, which I am excited to say is beautiful and accessible to all students in that school, which was a major goal of ours. So that was really neat to be with the community at Paine. I also went to Russell Knight to read to a class of kindergartners with Dr. Morton. I did my best Piggy and Gerald impressions while reading the book, and I think they enjoyed it. We were there for a lesson on community helpers, which was actually a lot of fun to see the kindergarten students. I also went to the Zone PTA breakfast over at West, which was catered by the West students, which is really why I went, because their food is phenomenal. And I got to see, I love it over at West. I was joking that if you ever want me to get me to show up to anything, just tell me the food is going to be there and I will definitely make it. But it was a really great morning. I got to see a lot of administrators from different schools and PTA people from different schools, which was really neat to hear about what's going on around the district. And I also got to go to the Thanksgiving celebration at the alternative high school here at Lewis, which is always a fun event. And again, I will go where the food is. But even more important than that, I got to serve desserts to a bunch of students, which was super fun. And just to be with those kids in that community right before the holiday was fantastic. So thanks.
Great. Thank you. Other board members have correspondence? So I did a few things as well. So thank you. Ruby Bridges was fantastic. I was at the Zone PTA breakfast, which was also fantastic. Saw Colin there. So Colin, it was nice to see you. And the food was good as always. Very good. I also went to the Mental Health Task Force meeting on the 15th of November, but I was there virtually, and I was one of only a few people who attended virtually, so majority of people in the room, I feel like I actually missed some information, but one of the helpful things that I did hear, one of the updates is that we've now made a connection with, I believe it's Oaks Integrated, and Mrs. Weddington, if you'll correct me if I've got that wrong. Again, I think I missed a few things from the meeting, but so Oaks Integrated will now be the referral resource for families if there is an S12 report. So we have another option, as we have been using Insight, but that is shifting as of the new year. Is that correct?
Yep, you didn't miss anything.
Okay, so even with the bad volume on my phone or through the meeting, so that was great. It was the first meeting of the year for the mental health task force. So it was I'm Mrs. Wellington, because I'm sure I missed something. Were there any other highlights that I'm not reporting from the mental health task force?
I don't think so. We talked about the waiver that we're now applying in grades we do it pre-K to too, but we added to grades 3 to 5. So we talked about that, and schools are using it. Updated the S12 procedures, talked about that, and then Oaks. I think that was the bulk of it.
Thank you. Yeah, that part I didn't hear. So this year we have implemented that, the introduction of the waiver for the entire all grades up through at the primary level. So that's great. Okay, that's exciting for the S12. Thank you. I also went to the unbelievably well-attended STEM night at Barton. It was just chaos, complete chaos. I think there were 400 people there. It was unbelievable. I mean, I'm a little biased because I think Mrs. Taylor is phenomenal, and I know she kind of heads it up. And Ms. Kizzy, it was there. It was Ms. Fatia Raftu. I'm always going to get her name wrong. Abdul Rahman. Thank you. So she was there, interacting and seeing, and there was so much synergy. Not only were the kids and the parents engaged and doing all kinds of fun STEM activities that were well organized and well developed with the theme of our oceans and our kind of climate and ocean focus, which was really cool. But there was all kinds of ideas about how to also bring that to our other elementary schools. Mrs. Taylor, from my understanding, has actually had advanced training in STEM education. That's something she did through the district years ago. And so she really wants to try to work with our primary math science level department to generalize that experience. The kids were so engaged. She said something to me, which I was like pretty blown away. They use this technology game. It's a game program, and they have iPads and they do it through that. And she said that the kids earn time on that. So they know they have to complete their weekly assignments, which are essentially homework. And so these kids will kind of get all their homework done in one day, so that every day during kind of like that time in the period, they have access to choose that, to play that, and it's of course an educational game. So it's just, I was like, wow. So you don't have to argue with your kids to get their homework done. They just rush through their homework. So they, not rush through, but including reading, they'll do their reading, they'll do all their assignments. I mean, talk about a positive motivator. It was really, it was pretty amazing. So I was a little overwhelmed when I left all the noise of 400, rambunctious and excited elementary kids and their parents, but really an amazing opportunity. And I think that was the only other, I don't know if I can't remember because time has got so much has happened in 2 weeks, but I think I had mentioned last time that I went to the PTA meeting at Cooper. I think that was prior to our last meeting. So that's done. Okay. All right. That's all I got for correspondence. And we move on to our student rep reports. We're actually tonight going to start with the alternative high school report. And then we will go after that to Matt at East and Colin at West. Yeah, so we're gonna get this loaded. So we're going right to Matt, and then we'll do Colin, go to Colin, and then we'll go to the alternative high school.
So
We'll wait. We'll go through the students in the room, and then thanks.
So to start, East held its Spirit Week competition, which started on Wednesday the 15th and ended on Tuesday the 21st. Seniors won both the Spirit Week dance and the Spirit Week competition as the whole. Juniors came in second for Spirit Week, with freshmen in third and sophomores in fourth place. The week also saw a successful canned food drive and great turnout from current and former students at the Spirit Week dance competition. Fall sports have come to a close with winter sports season starting, crowds having ended last week. Scrimmages and games will be starting in the oncoming weeks. Blood Drive had another very successful year with many students and East community members turning out to donate blood. Marking Period 1 officially ended earlier this month with report cards officially having been released. East hosted a successful Red Ribbon Week with students dressing up to raise awareness of drug misuse. East also hosted its fall music preview with one song performed by every music group. It was very well attended by both East students and community members. Earlier this month, a Diwali event was hosted by ICS, which is East's Indian Cultural Society, and it was held after school in Cafeteria 1. We had East held a Meet the Guidance Counselors Night, which was hosted on November 16th, giving parents and guardians an opportunity to form a closer bond with the guidance counselors at East. In early November, Eastside Newspaper's editorial board traveled to Boston for the annual National High School Journalism Convention, which gave them an opportunity to speak with both other high schools as well as famous individuals in the field of journalism about the craft. The fall play A Midsummer Night's Dream will have 2 sets of showings being shown Friday the 8th and Saturday the 9th, as well as Friday the 15th and Saturday the 16th of December. I would like to congratulate the boys cross country team who competed in the Nike Northeast Regional Championship race this past weekend. They finished in the top 20 and finished their season as an all Nike regional team. I would also like to congratulate the esports team, which this past Saturday competed in the State of New Jersey Championships for League of Legends, and they came in second place. And then earlier this week, the chess team had a clean sweep against Camden County Tech, remaining undefeated in all matchups. On December 21st, East will host its winter instrumental concert at 7:30 p.m. And that's it.
Excellent, thank you. And Colin, if you would give the West report, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Starting off, West, we had our Spirit Week take place from November 16th to November 22nd, and it was a huge success. The final rankings for Spirit Week are seniors in first place, sophomores in second, juniors in third, and the freshmen in fourth. Building on Spirit Week, this week-long event was a great way to promote unity and cooperation within our West community. Students from many different social circles came together for a common cause, getting more points than the other 3 classes. And a major highlight of Spirit Week was our lip sync challenge. We had not only the most student participants from the lip sync challenge than other years, we also had the most alumni from our 2015 to 2018 classes return to judge the challenge. As for academics, on November 13th, West students attended the HBCU College Fair for on-site admissions to 31 different institutions, information sessions, and scholarship offers totaling $142,000. Instant decision days are approaching with institutions including Rider, Temple, Montclair, Stockton, Monmouth, and Rutgers planning to visit West. Moving on to our arts, on November 20th, West Catering provided a wide variety of foods at the Zone PTA brunch, including breakfast empanadas, parfait cups, and coffee service. On November 21st, our art classes took a field trip to the Museum of Modern Art and participated in a hands-on workshop at the Society of Illustrators in Manhattan. And West Art students are proud to be finally working with the 30 dual monitor workstations that are now in our graphic design computer lab. I'd like to congratulate all of the students who participated in our fall athletics. As our fall season for athletics is concluding, we're getting very excited for our winter sports, including basketball, swimming, winter track, bowling, and wrestling. And for our extracurriculars, members of our Latinos at West Club will participate in a community service project at the Mi Casita Daycare Center in Camden to deliver toys to children in that community. Throughout the month of December, our performing arts department will be working to hold our winter instrumental concert, our vocal concert, and the Christmas story play at the end of the month. I look forward to reporting on them when they have finished their hard work. And finally, our West Literature Magazine Club is currently working with the graphic design team to push out editions of their magazine they did not get to release during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you. It's very exciting, especially well, all of it is really exciting. Thank you. Great report. Okay. Are we ready, Mr. Plavinsky, with the alternative high school report to play that? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Stephen Maestre. I am a 9th grade student at both AHS and Cherry Hill West. The past month has been full of exciting trips, school projects, visitors, and more. Please join me on a brief review of our program. To wrap up our 4-week Residence for Hispanic Heritage Month, Senora Claudia assisted students in creating a multi-course lunch for staff, students, and families. Staff and students attended 2 field trips last month. 1, a career study at Six Flags Great Adventure, and 2, an English history collaboration at the Lawrenceville Armory. Congratulations to our students of the month for September: Steven Sinaglia, Justin Jimenez, and Anaya Lopez. AHS wrapped up October with a community service partnership with AWA. Thank you for the following AHS and all of our activities. For more information mentioned in today's report, please click the link for the school's newspaper, the Lewis Ledger.
That was great. Thank you. Dr. Morton, might we be able to get the Lewis Ledger in our next Friday memo? Oh, an option.
I thought it was included the last memo, but
Did I
I'll
miss
double
it?
check.
Did I
Yes.
miss it? Did I miss it? I didn't.
You didn't get it?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yes, you will receive it then.
Okay, we will receive it. Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you for the reports. And now we move on to our first public comment. So our public comments are an opportunity for our community to comment on topics relevant to our district. We do have community members who, in our second public comment, are welcome to comment on any topic. We are here tonight as our Board of Education to do our board business on behalf of our students and our schools. And so as part of our meeting, we have 2 different public comment periods. This public comment period, the first one, is for our board action items only, items 13 through 16. There is the second public comment period for any other school-related topic at the end of our meeting. If you are a student in the district, you may comment on any agenda item or any item during the first public comment period. So we ask, if you are a student online, that you put an S after your name so that we may easily identify you as a student. Or if you're in the room and you'd like to speak, that current student in our district, we ask that you come to the podium first so that we will give you the opportunity to speak first. If you would like to speak during this first public comment period, please identify the agenda item that you're speaking about, as well as stating your name and your municipality. We will alternate between speakers here in the room and those who are online. Each speaker will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. The timer on the screen will indicate the amount of time you have remaining. Public comment is an opportunity for members of the community to comment on matters relevant to the operations of Cherry Hill Public School District or within the authority of Cherry Hill Board of Education. The board welcomes diverse opinions on relevant related matters. Under established federal law governing reasonable restrictions on speech in public forums, statements which demean individual community members or community groups, or which are irrelevant to the operations of the school district or are repetitive, will not be permitted during our public comment period. Community members who would like to present information not relevant to the school district are always welcome to communicate directly to the district superintendent, board president, or all board members via email or other alternative means. If there are topics that community members would like to address that are not specifically relevant to our school district, there are also other avenues in our community to contact, specifically to bring those issues to our town council, where formerly our town council did have a community relations committee, which perhaps would be an area to address issues that are more community related in the future. So with that, we will start with in the room. If we have any students, I would ask you, if you'd like to speak tonight, to please approach the podium. And if you're a student in our district, if you could please state your name and your municipality.
Hi.
I'm sorry, before you start, I didn't mention this. You will have 3 minutes to speak. The timer on the, I'm sorry, Mrs. Sugars, I'll ask you to pause it and restart it when she does start. The timer on the screen will indicate how much time you have left.
Thank you. My name is Danielle Bersutsky. I'm a student at Cherry Hill East. I have the policy guide from the Board of Education for our school district with me. And the policy guide for 2270, Religion in the Schools, states that the following activities will be permitted, such as prayer and religious exercise, organized prayer groups and activities, and accommodation of prayer and religious exercise during instructional time. Organized prayer groups during class time. Groups are any number larger than one person, which is an unlimited amount of students. There's no way to monitor the amount of kids that will be absent from valuable class time, which is necessary for these students to succeed in our school district. There's some that argue that they need this missed class time to pray and that it's more important for them than these classes. And I have no issue with that. But I say to that there's other options, such as a religious school, which already has those accommodations built into it, or homeschooling. Also, the guide says that the following activities will be permitted, such as religious literature, teaching about religion, and religious expression in class assignments and homework. There's so many different outlooks and views on so many different beliefs. So by saying that a teacher is allowed to teach about religion, there's no way to monitor them. And if there is a curriculum implemented for what teachers are allowed to teach about specific religion, then at that point, it's not being inclusive because there are so many different beliefs. You can't just limit it. Therefore, teaching about religion in public schools is either unmonitored or not inclusive. It is wrong. In addition, we know math is a fact, history is a fact, languages are fact, sciences are theories based off of fact, religions are theories based off of opinion. Political ideologies are not taught in classrooms. So why is there a reason to be bringing in any sort of religious ideologies into class? It doesn't make sense. There should be no reason to be teaching an opinion in public school. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we go to online. Are there any students online who would like to speak? I currently don't see any. I see one hand. So I'm going to ask you to please state your name, your municipality, and the action item you are speaking on.
My name is Jeff Podowitz. I live in Cherry Hill. It's 13.4. It's simple. For the 2024-2025 school year, total 540 students. Please vote no. Slow it down a bit. According to the Murphy administration, the latest available total spending per pupil which is for 2021, 2022 school year, is 27,486, an increase of 12.2% for the prior year. Now, this is 2 years later next year. However, cost per pupil for preschool expansion is significantly more expensive. You're limiting to 15 students per classroom with a paraprofessional and a teacher. They have to have access to a bathroom, already access to that bathroom. It's going to be in the classroom. That all buses need a driver. Plus, this number 24 plus $1,000 is for the 2021, 2022 school year. We're talking about 2 years later. A conservative estimate would be the cost per pupil would be $33,500. That's really conservative estimate per student. Total estimate for 540 students for 540 pupils would be over $18 million. That is a lot of money to find in the budget, a lot. In what is essentially the first year of preschool, that really is the first full year of preschool next year. You are moving way too fast. 540 students is much too much. And as administrators, you have a tendency, if there's a misstep, you gloss over it. You don't want missteps at this price, at $33,500 a student. So school boards, slow it down a bit. All right? Make that number lower for next year. Please do that. Also, on 16.2, the assurance vote on HIB, please vote no, because the definition of HIB used in this school district is not consistent with the state's definition. Not at all. So the numbers that you're presenting them, because they're not consistent, really are not valid. So please vote no on 16.2 and slow down the numbers a bit on 13 point, on the preschool expansion, 13.4. Anyway, thank you very much, and that's it. Take care. Thank you.
Okay, we go back to the room. Excuse me. If there's anybody who would like to speak on an action item, or if there is a current student in our district who would like to speak. You could please state your name, your municipality, and the action item 13 through 16 that you are speaking on.
Penina Mintz, Cherry Hill, action item 13.4. I guess the question is which providers you will be using for the preschool students. Are we using religious facilities or houses? And action item number 16.5, policy 5116. Request for enrollment of homeless child or youth to attend the school district. Who is referring those homeless kids here? How many are they? Is there any review process for that? And we currently have homeless students in our schools? What are the agencies that are involved? Policy 2270. Policy doesn't state what type of prayer in the school. Is it being student-led? What type of groups are involved? My understanding, the religion in schools should be separate. Policy 5111, immigration visa status shall not affect eligibility. Are we enrolling now illegal immigrants into our schools? If so, who is monitoring them? How many illegal immigrants are attending, and are taxpayers paying for it? Policy 8462. Let's see. So as far as, who's involved in notifying, I guess, the principal if there's an abuse of a child, are the staff and teachers being trained to notify symptoms or abuse? So I really would like to, for the board to shelve these items until there's a full discussion by the public, whether these policies should go forward. Thank you.
And now we go online. The name is Amina Shabazz Perez. If you could please state your name, your municipality, and which action item 13 through 16 you're speaking on.
Good evening. Can you hear me? I'm
Yes,
sorry. Can you hear
we
me?
can. Yes, we can hear you. Yes, if you could
Good
state your name
evening. I was
municipality, and the action item you're speaking on.
Amina Shabazz Perez, Cherry Hill, and I am calling to do public comment because I have a concern that is not being heard, and I've tried many, many times.
I'm sorry, Ms. Shabazz Perez, this is our first public comment period. It's only for our board action items. If you have a general public comment, if you could please call back during our second public comment, that will be the opportunity to speak then on a general item.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we go back to the room. If there's anybody who has a public comment on a board action item, if you could please approach the podium now. Okay. Doesn't look like we have anybody, and there's no hands online, so we will close our first public comment and we'll go to our acting superintendent comments.
Thank you very much, Ms. Stern. Definitely appreciate it. So I hope everyone had a great holiday last week. Wonderful Thanksgiving, time spent with family. This is a beautiful time, one of my favorite times of the year, an opportunity for us to reflect on all the things that we are grateful for. Definitely grateful to be here with you all tonight and engage and be with the engaged community. Thank you to Zone PTA for the wonderful Thanksgiving breakfast. It really set a great tone for our administrative team. It's wonderful to be recognized and to just have individuals say thank you. Appreciative to High School West for hosting. Kudos to Dr. Burns and his team. They did a great job. Kudos to Miss Chris Buchanan, the culinary teacher over at West. And kudos to our very own Colin, who is here tonight. He's one of our culinary experts who gave us those delectable delights. So it was a great time. This is a busy month, as we move into the month of December. Very, very busy month. We have elementary and middle level conferences beginning on Thursday. Report cards are available already at the high school level. They will be available for our early childhood center students and for our elementary students at the end of the month. As mentioned, the theatrical performances that are coming up at both schools, and there are many wonderful things that are happening. I just want to clarify a few things about that was said tonight. I mentioned at the last meeting that we had in my comments about prayer. We do not have groups come into the schools to lead classes of students in prayer. There is a clear separation, church and state, and that does not occur. This policy itself requires that we certify that we are not preventing prayer from happening in schools. That happens independently. So if a student, according to their religious observance, has to pray at a designated time, administratively, we provide opportunities for them to do that and to do it independently. That it's not through a concerted effort or through a religious organization or anything like that in school. So it's constitutionally protected. It's a federally protected right that students have.
Dr. Morton, and if you could just clarify, so that is not a mandate specifically from our own district. That's at the federal level. This is a required policy for us to have. It's required for us to provide that opportunity.
Required,
Thank you.
yes,
Just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Yes, we don't have an option in this regard. As it relates to preschool expansion, we continue to be excited about it. We made an announcement earlier, a few months ago now, that we had been awarded a competitive funding for our expansion efforts, $3.46 million for this year alone. $3.46 million for those students, the 150 students that will start on January 2nd. The funding follows the enrollment of students. So as our universe or a number of students increases, the funding follows that as well. The information that's included on tonight's agenda are estimates that we're provided to have board approved as part of our application process. So as part of our application process as well, there are growth metrics that are associated with that. We'll ramp all the way up to about 1,700 students over a period of years. And the expectation is that funding will continue to follow that growth in enrollment as well. So it's a positive thing, definitely a positive thing for us. We heard tonight from our board reps. We heard from Alternative School as well about just the many wonderful things that are happening. We heard from board members also, STEM nights, musical performances, athletics nights. I'll throw in there Family Visitation Day at the elementary school. Wonderful experience as well. That's why we do what we do. It's about family. Family's at the core of everything. Our schools have been functioning. They've been working. Students are learning. They are immersed in activities. And I think that's a testament to the wonderful teachers and staff that we have at the schools. So I definitely want to give kudos to our fantastic teachers and staff for keeping things afloat and keeping things moving beautifully as they traditionally do. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morton. Thanks for all the reminders and the clarification. You're right. Our students it's exciting to see what's happening in our schools. Okay, we move on to our action agenda and we start with curriculum and instruction. Mrs. Winters, can you please move the CNI agenda?
I would love to. The superintendent recommends and I move the following. 13.1, approval of attendance at conference and workshops for the 23-24 school year. 13.2, approval of out-of-district student placement for 23-24 school year. 13.3, approval of professional development proposal world language. And 13.4, approval of preschool enrollment for the 24-25 school year. Do I have a second? Ms. Fleischer, are there any questions? Ms. Sugars, please call the vote. Board members, you may cast your votes.
I'm a no on 13.4.
Motion carries.
Okay, and we go on to business and facilities. Mr. Greenbaum, can you please move the BNF agenda?
Thank you. The superintendent recommends, and I move the following. 14.1, approval of minutes, regular meeting minutes, and executive session minutes dated October 17th, 2023. 14.2, financial reports. 14.3, resolutions. 14.4, resolution for shared services agreements between the Township of Cherry Hill and the Cherry Hill Board of Education. 14.5, resolution for the award of transportation. 14.6, approval of Cherry Hill McKinney-Vento DCP&P students going out of district for the 2023-2024 school year. And 14.7, acceptance of donations. Do I have a second? Mrs. Winters, any questions? Seeing none, Mrs. Sugars, please open the voting.
Board members, you may cast your votes.
Mrs. Sugars, I need to abstain from Jewish Federation on the bill list, please, to avoid a conflict of interest.
Oops, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. And we move on to human resources. Mrs. Elmore Stratton, can you please move the HR agenda?
Sure. The superintendent recommends, and I move the following. 15.1, termination of employment certificated. 15.2, termination of employment non-certificated. 15.3, appointment certificated. 15.4, appointments non-certificated. 15.5, leave of absence certificate. 15.6, leave of absence non-certificated. 15.7, assignment salary change certificated approval. 15.8, approval of a new job description. 15.9, other compensation certificated. And 15.10, first reading of revised policy. And do I have a second? Ms. Stern, and any questions? All right, thank you so much, Ms. Sugars.
Okay, board members, you may cast your votes. And the motion carries.
Okay, thank you. We move on to policy and legislation. Mrs. Fleischer, can you please move the P&L agenda?
Sure, thank you. The superintendent recommends, and I move the following: 16.1, approval of harassment, intimidation, bullying, investigation decisions, with the exception of a modification of 253883 to be unfounded. 16.2, the approval of Cherry Hill Public Schools HIB self-assessment and statements of assurances. 16.3, the first reading of policies P2270, religion in schools, P5111, eligibility of residents / non-residents, P5116, education of homeless students and youth. 16.4, second reading of policies, P1642.01, sick leave, P3160, physical examination, P3161, examination for cause, P3212, attendance, P4130, assignment and transfer, P4160, physical examination, P4161, examination for cause, P4212, attendance, P8462, reporting potentially missing or abused children, P8613, waiver of student transportation. Do I have a second? Mr. Mayor, any questions? Seeing none, Mrs. Sugars, can you open the voting? Thank you.
Board members, you may cast your votes.
Sugars, I need to abstain on 16.1, please.
Mrs. Sugars, I also need to abstain on 16.1.
Abstain from 16.1 and 16.2. Thank you.
Sure. I would like to say no to 2 on the harassment. That they give you, can I give you the numbers? 25426, 250256. I think that's it. But then yes to the rest.
Motion carries.
Okay, and it looks like we have no strategic planning items for tonight. So that moves us to new business. Is there any board member new business tonight? Okay, seeing none. Is there any board member old business? Mrs. Winters.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to invite everybody to attend the preschool information session that's coming up on Thursday, November 30th, 7 p.m. at the Malberg Early Childhood Center. We are holding it at the Malberg Early Childhood Center because we thought that would be most comfortable for our preschool families, and they are the target audience we're trying to reach with this informational session about preschool expansion aid and our expansion that's coming sooner rather than later in January. It was a really quick turnaround between receiving notification in October and opening our classrooms in January. We're getting ready. We're excited, but we know there's a lot of information and discussion to be had and information to get out there. So we're hoping that our preschool families and anybody else in the community who's interested in this awesome opportunity for our kids will please, please, please join us. You can come in person or you can attend virtually. It will also be recorded and posted on our YouTube channel. You can submit questions. We love questions, and we're hoping that everybody gets all the answers they're looking for. If we do not know the answers, we will find out and get back to you. So that is all the business I have right now, but I'm looking forward to seeing everybody Thursday night.
And Mrs. Winters, it's the informational session is targeted. Most of the information will be targeted first and foremost to the January
Yes.
start?
So the intention of the preschool informational session is for families whose children will be attending beginning in January who are interested in that. Anybody can attend. This is open to the community. It's a public meeting and we'll be doing Q&A with everybody. But that is the focus of the information. There will be further information coming out for the September implementation for students who will be starting in the fall, coming later this year as we continue to move forward. But this session on Thursday is really targeted towards that January opening.
Thank you. So later this year is in later this school year, 2024?
Sorry. Yeah,
That's
I
okay.
think in school years now that I'm on a school board.
I know. And I just, I think we want to make sure we get the most accurate information
So
out there.
the information this coming Thursday night is for people starting in January. Anybody is welcome to join us, but that is where the information is going to be targeted. But stay tuned, because in the calendar year 2024, how's that? We will have more information about further expansion of the program. As you saw tonight on the agenda, we continue to grow, and that's really exciting. So more information will be coming in 2024.
Thank you for clarifying all that.
Thank you for helping me be clear.
We do our best, right? Okay. Other old business items. Okay. All right. That brings us to our second public comment period. This public comment period is for any topic related to our school district and our school board. If there are topics that relate to other community-related topics, we encourage people to approach the appropriate entities for that. Again, I said earlier, there was formerly a Human Relations Council, I believe it was, through our town council, which I think is a great avenue to inquire about opportunities to have discussions that are more community-based. But our public comment period, the focus is school-related topics. So during this public comment period, we will alternate between commenters in the room and commenters online. Even though we gave students the first opportunity to speak in the first public comment on any topic, we will always prioritize our students first. So if we have students who want to speak, whether you are in the room, I would encourage you to please approach the podium first before the adults do. And if you are a student and you're online and you'd like to speak, I would encourage you to please identify yourself online by putting an S after your name. That way we know to call on you first. If you'd like to speak, please clearly state your name and municipality. Each speaker will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. The timer on the screen will indicate the amount of time you have remaining. Public comment is an opportunity for members of our community to comment on matters relevant to the operations of our district, our public school district, or within the authority of the Cherry Hill Board of Education. The board welcomes diverse opinions on relevant matters. Under established federal law governing reasonable restrictions on speech in public forums, statements which demean individual community members or groups or which are irrelevant to the operations of the school district or are repetitive will not be permitted. Community members who would like to present information not relevant to the school district are always welcome to communicate directly to the district superintendent, the board president, and all board members via email or other alternative means. Okay. And with that, we will start in the room at the podium. If there's no one to speak at the podium, we will go to online. So if you'd like to speak, I would ask you to please approach the podium and speak at the podium. You may line up if you would like, however you'd like to proceed. Please state your name and municipality.
My name is Janam Salem. I've been a part of Cherry Hill for about 20 years. I had a concern back in about mid-October. My son was the victim of harassment and bullying when a student decided to record him and his friends sitting in the cafeteria, just having lunch. They were wearing keffiyehs. And then he posted that online stating that, you know, look at these terrorists or people who support beheading babies and raping women. The school did suspend him only, by the way, after he had another, that same student had another incident, and they decided after that second
I'm
one.
sorry, I have to interrupt you. I asked you not to comment, to speak specifically about other students in our district. You can
Mention
speak
his
more
name.
general. I
Okay.
just asked you not to comment about specific students. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just, I do appreciate the efforts that Cherry Hill East made. They made that video, you know, hate has no home here. My son was part of it. I was very proud of that. However, I think there needs to be a little more follow-up done. Just making the video was wonderful. I think there needs to be a second step. There was no follow-up. The student wasn't asked to sit with my son and speak to him one-on-one as a human, you know, and say to him, I apologize for harassing you, embarrassing you, humiliating you. That was never done. I think there needs to be atmosphere of mutual respect in our schools. I think everyone in this room would agree. Mutual respect is something that the students themselves would feel safe. I mean, I so much felt that from you guys, you know, from the entire community for 20 years. And I just think that maybe we as parents, we're more than willing to cooperate with you because you know, you guys are the administrators and you know better than us. But we need to have more training programs put in place to do these kind of things. I mean, you've all heard about the three young men who were shot in Vermont because they were wearing kufias and speaking Arabic. That would be a tragedy if that happened in our school district. I really think we should implement some sort of programs in our schools, training the staff about, you know, different cultures and just training students themselves, just having them learn about that. That would be a lot more tolerance and there would be just more, as I said, mutual respect. I think that that's a big thing that we need to push as parents and administrators, you know, and, you know, we can't normalize these kind of things that happen. We have to act on them quickly. You know, we don't want to act after something tragic happens that would make us all feel horrible. That if that did happen in Cherry Hill, I desperately hope that you guys just take that recommendation. And I do appreciate all your efforts and we will cooperate with you if you reach out to us, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And we go back to the line and the name on the line is Amina Perez. If you could please state your name and your municipality and unmute.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi. I have
Could you
been a resident
state your
Cherry
name and your
Hill.
I'm sorry.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Amina Shabazz Perez, Cherry Hill resident for 13 years. And I am calling in because I have a transportation and a communication concern, and I would like it addressed. I've been more than patient, and I have to be honest with my feeling that it's unreasonable. The response and what I'm asking for is very reasonable. I have twin sons that attend Johnson School. I also have a son that's a senior at East High School, and I'm very familiar with the transportation routes in the district. I enrolled my twins a few days late after the cutoff. I had a surgery, and there seemed to be this attitude when you enroll after the date that, you know, it's something purposefully you're doing to registration when you could have your own personal issues going on that could have prevented you. And it was taken very personal as if it was like intentional. And so my children weren't added to the bus route. I was calling transportation. Nobody would call me back. I would email transportation. Nobody would call me back. And so I couldn't continue not going to work and having to take the kids to school and rework the day. So I went to the school district administration. I asked to talk to somebody in transportation. This is back in September. And I spoke with Ms. King, who her first question was, when did you enroll them? I said, I acknowledge that I enrolled them late, but you know, how much are you going to punish me for it? They were told that they would be put on a route. They were put on a route, and then the route changed. I said, well, can they just be put on the Mallcrest route because the bus stops right here? I was told that the bus doesn't stop on Mallcrest, and I said that can't be true because I see it stop. And then she told me it's not safe to stop on Mallcrest. I said, well, they've been doing it for the last 12 years with my oldest son, so when did it become unsafe? It was just all these made up reasons. So then Miss Lynn Sugars and Miss King called me on the phone, and we're explaining that because the route it wasn't there was another child at the route. That's why it had to be where it is. So there's 3 children at the route. One is my neighbor, and my neighbor also emailed into transportation and asked, can the stop be where it stops right near her house? The bus stops, it's a different bus number. So then they're saying that the bus is full, but I can see the bus, and I want to know what the capacity is for a full bus and why they can't be put on the bus. I do not believe
Thank you, Ms.
when I'm being told.
Perez. I'm sorry, your 3 minutes is up.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for calling in. Okay, we go back to the room. You could state your name and municipality, please.
My name is Jack Brangan, Cherry Hill. And as a former math teacher for 15 years, I really enjoyed the presentation in the beginning. And as a programmer for 20 years, I wish I'd heard more about the computer programming, that's done here. But about 5 months ago, you received a presentation on the state sex ed curriculum and how it was going to be implemented in Cherry Hill. And my request here tonight is that I'd like to see the details around what exactly is being taught in the classroom. Because basically the state said that the lesson plans would not be, they would not provide lesson plans. The lesson plans would be up to the local school district and the teacher, and any of the materials that were going to be used in the class. The state would not provide materials. And what I'd like to, my request is that you take those materials, you take those lesson plans and make them available to the Cherry Hill public. Because I think it's very important to know that what the details are that's being taught in the class. There were a couple things that were of concern to me. I know the state provided lesson plans, or I'll call them lesson plans, to be used or not be used for K-12. And it was put out by an outfit called Advocates for Youth. And in just doing a little Googling, I found out that in California, there was a organization called Planned Parenthood for Population Options. And about 10 years ago, they changed their name to Advocates for Youth. So I think what we're getting here is some version of the Planned Parenthood K-12 curriculum that's being generated or being sent out to the state. So this is one of the main reasons that I'd like to see the details because there are clearly people that are fans of Planned Parenthood. There are those that are not happy with Planned Parenthood. And if we're getting a curriculum that is written by Planned Parenthood, I think that this should be made known, and also what the details are that are in that's being presented in the classrooms and what the materials are. Thank you.
Okay, we go back online, and it's the initials GB. If you could please state your full name and your municipality.
Hi, my name is Gal Blank, and I live in Cherry Hill for about 12 years. Couple of items. First, I would want to touch on the religion part of policy. So back in October, a few guys showed up with kafirs, and the whole hell broke loose in school, which school could not get a grasp on up until now, basically. So it seems that this will escalate even further without putting any specific measures in place that they will help to de-escalate in case there is some situation. That's first point. So I don't think that's a good idea in general, putting religion or religious prayers in public schools. Second, I want to follow up on the events, on the sensitivity training that the first person talked about. And I would totally agree that we need sensitivity training, and the sensitive thing would be for the people to, on October 8th, to show up in support of Israel and not the other side, to support the students of people whose families were, slaughtered, basically, instead of coming up with other side of things to provoke both sides. So we do absolutely need sensitivity training, and this training should start with parents and include the kids. So those are my 2 points. Thank you.
Okay, and we go back to the room. If you could please state your name and municipality.
Kurt Braddock, Cherry Hill. Thank you, Mrs. Stern. 3 main points. I'll try to make them. Well, I'll start with the first. I was the one with the Wawa last week, if you remember, 2 weeks ago. And I apologize for being dressed like a figure skater in training. I have a hockey game in about an hour outside. So Number one, I wanted to comment on something Mrs. Winter said related to how colleges might perceive the math. I'm on the I'm a college professor and I work on access committees, PhD steering committees, and we look for data science, even the social sciences. We're looking at the sorts of things that were mentioned earlier. So they're not necessarily making their way into what are needed, but if we see those, our eyebrows go up and we're impressed by it. So I think you're really headed in the right direction based on an N of one. But for what it's worth, yeah, I think it'll look good. Second, 2 weeks ago, I mentioned about the passion spoken in the other room with respect to what's been going on in Cherry Hill schools. And I talked about the need for, or the research that says the dialogue between, quote, both sides can be useful. I work in that space. I work in extremism, but I work in the space where I do social influence and counter extremism, counter radicalization, that kind of thing. So I have experience in evaluating programs that are meant to kind of talk people away from polarization. So in that spirit, for the last 2 weeks, since I saw everybody speak so passionately, I've been pulling together resources that I'm going to put onto a website that if people who are interested, I know I'm not supposed to turn around, but if you are all interested in in the next couple of weeks, I'll announce when that website's live. And I'd be willing to volunteer to kind of host informal chats between, quote, both sides to facilitate dialogue, because until we do that, I don't think it's going to trickle down into the schools. And as a last comment, and if you have to stop me, you're welcome to do so. But again, in the spirit of disarming disinformation that a lot of our students are exposed to, and in reducing polarization, there was a gentleman, with all due respect, last meeting talked about Black Lives Matter as a hate group. I want to counter that with actual research. There are Black Lives Matter branches in the US, the UK, Australia, Brazil, Canada, Denmark, Germany, France, New Zealand, Japan. The only country that came close to even calling them a hate group was during the Trump administration in the spring of 2019, where the FBI called them Black identity extremists. They dropped that name within 2 months and no longer called them that. So of all the countries that have Black Lives Matter in it, exactly 0 called them a hate group. Again, all due respect to the gentleman and his point, but I don't want students in the Cherry Hill district to understand Black Lives Matter to be a hate group. Just research says that's not the case. So thank you very much. If anybody's interested, the next couple of weeks, I'll be here again to give you our URL. I'm going to go freeze during a hockey game.
Thank you. And now we go to Carolina Bevitt on the line. If you could state your name and municipality, please.
Hi, Carolina Bevid, Cherry Hill. I want to make a comment tonight first that I really love the new math pathways proposal. I think I loved it when it was first presented and I still love it and I'm excited for it. Secondly, I'd just like to make a comment about the high school schedule. I've been working now at the high school since September. I believe that the periods are too long. So 60-minute periods are really long for kids to focus and pay attention. And then 2 days in the cycle, they're an hour and a half long. It's really long. I think an ideal period would be more like 40 or 45 minutes. It's just a better like progression of lesson, individual work, coming back together and sharing. And then finally, just referring to some of the other comments made, BLM absolutely is a hate group. It's outwardly and unabashedly anti-Semitic. And I think any trace of BLM's influence should be eradicated immediately from our curriculum. Thanks.
We go back to the room. If there's anybody who'd like to speak at the podium, please approach it now. Thank you.
Sorry.
So you could please state your name and municipality when you're ready. Thank you.
Sure. So my name is Juja Doherty and I'm from Cherry Hill. We haven't been in Cherry Hill very long, only close to a couple of years. But I just wanted to come in support of some of the students here. You know, the sensitivity training I think was very important to discuss. You know, one of the things that drew our family to this community was the diversity that we saw. But without giving the students the respect and dignity that they deserve when treating each other, and the open dialogue that was started in the school in addressing this issue, that I think is going to be the death of that diversity, right? Because there's going to be students that don't feel recognized, that don't feel heard, that their respect and dignity aren't validated. So I think it's really important to address this issue. Just coming from another community that's extremely diverse, we come from Queens, New York. The community that we come from is Jackson Heights. I don't know if you're familiar with Jackson Heights, but Jackson Heights is the most diverse neighborhood in the United States and probably the world. It's not with that we haven't, of course, seen like fair share of problems and issues within the community, but of course, those are always overcome when we show dignity and respect and actually listen to each other instead of choosing one side. So it's really important. So, and I just came out in support, of course, of our friends, and just wanted to speak on that. So thank you.
Okay.
And I'm a terrible speaker. I'm sorry.
It's nerve-wracking to get up at that podium. I did it for many years. We go to, I don't think this is the right name, so I'll just ask you to please state your full accurate name and municipality. It's listed as a wider bridge. I think you have a different name, so you're next on the line.
Alana Yaris, Cherry Hill. I was just calling in because the preschool meeting that's happening on Thursday, if I heard correctly, it sounded like it was for only those who are being enrolled under the expanded program starting in January. So as a current parent, does that mean that I shouldn't be attending to hear about this? I'm deeply interested in the fact that before and after care will be offered at the satellite sites for the preschool students, and it will not currently be offered at Malberg, with the caveat that if you have an IEP in the district, the only school you're allowed to attend is Malberg, and I have a student with an IEP currently attending Malberg, and I need before and after care, and if I didn't have to pay to a daycare center currently, and I could put that money towards SAC, which is cheaper than the daycare option I'm currently using, my child would not need busing and he would be able to attend before and after care at Malberg. But it seems that before and after care won't be available, even though he has an IEP and can't go to the other schools. Thank you.
Okay. Let me go back to the room if there's anybody else who would like to comment. You could please approach the podium. If you'd like to comment, if you could please approach the podium. Thank you. And just please state your name and municipality, full name and municipality. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Niaz Hussain. I'm from Cherry Hill City, and I'm living here for the last 13 years. I moved here from North Jersey, and the main reason for moving was the good reputation of the Cherry Hill schools. I don't know anything about this city except the school that we find over online and check the ratings and schools. They were excellent. That thing brought me here, and I am proud, and I'm happy that our decision was 100% right. That was not wrong. I have 6 kids. My 5 kids graduated from Cherry Hill High Schools, 4 from Cherry Hill East, 1 from Cherry Hill West, and 6th one is in Cherry Hill East in grade 9th. And my one daughter is a lawyer. She's a well-reputed lawyer. My second daughter is in medical school. My one daughter, she's working with some company in HR, and she did the master degree. She's on wheelchair, and she's also the runner of the board of the members elections. So that's why I'm proud of that. So what I will request you, first of all, let me to thankful to all of you board members, teachers, and all participants to provide us an opportunity to participate in this these comments. So we need to maintain that credibility, that standard of our schools. That is very, very important other than instead of other things. For that, Board of Education, teachers, students, and parents, these three pillars need to work together. So this is of my special request to maintain that. Unfortunately, a couple of weeks before, some external crisis affected our school. I mean, Gaza, Israel, that war is going on there. That has bad effect on our schools, even our kids involved in that thing. Some in the favor of Gaza, some in the favor of Israel. This is unacceptable. We are Americans. We should think about the America. We should be an American. And our basic knowledge is because of that thing, that principle, America has a good reputation in all over the world because of peace, justice, and freedom. If we teach our kids about peace, justice, and freedom, on the other hand, practically, we are not doing that now. And my son, who is in...
Thank you. I'm sorry, your time is up. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we go back to the line, and it's the number of 788. If you could please state your name and municipality.
My name is Jeff Potowitz, and I live in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Fair funding with a question mark. The cost of this year for each preschool student will exceed $33,000 a student. $3.4 million this year that we received from the state is a fraction of the cost of preschool expansion to our community. It is nothing to be cheered about that we are, as usual, we are being underfunded and cheated by the state. As usual. Funding, fair funding. I don't know if you realize that there are groups out there that want to stop all categorical aid. Everything will go into the equalization formula. This is real and something for you people at Fair Funding to fight about. Problem. When they use the equalization formula, one thing that is used is the increase in equalized valuation. Well, compared to last year, our equalized valuation, and the state will use these figures, increased 16.67% in 1 year. Haddonfield increased 6.5%, and Voorhees increased about 8.2%. Weir increase was almost double. What that will translate to is quite possibly a decrease in equalization aid. Will someone run those numbers and realize this? So those two things, now I think that it's used unfairly, this equalized valuation, in that equalization formula. But the more money they put into the equalization formula, the more problems we have as they decrease, and they want to decrease what is considered categorical age, which includes special aid to special education. So look at those numbers, realize that raise in equalized valuation will cause a decrease in our uncapped aid and may cause a decrease in the aid we actually receive from the equalization formula. So why don't you look into that? That's something for the, quote, Fair Funding Committee to look into. Meanwhile, when it comes to preschool expansion, as usual, we're being unfairly funded at $3.4 million. Anyway, thank you very much for listening, and look into it. Look into the numbers I just gave you. Thank you very much.
And we go back to the room. If there's any other public comment, if you could please approach the podium. Please state your
Dr.
name and
Panita
municipality.
Mates, Cherry Hill. I'd like to follow up on the previous speaker. We absolutely have one culture only. That's an American culture. My talk today in the public comment is aimed in advocating to removing the diversity, inclusion, and equity program out of Cherry Hill School that I considered directly responsible for the mayhem that we saw 5 weeks ago in our schools. The DI program is dividing us into subgroups, into multicultures, where we are separated and divided. We are only one. Everybody in the room is one united American society, American community. We're not divided. So I'm asking the Board of Education members here and the superintendent to take very seriously the program that you have implemented, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion program that is directly related to the mayhem that we're seeing in our schools. It is a publicly funded school, and the sole purpose of Cherry Hill Schools is to provide real education. It's not to provide ideology. It's not to provide religion. It's not to provide divisions among students or parents. We would like to revert our schools into pure academic schools that only focus on education, be it mathematics, reading, writing, and so on, rather than political ideologies. What we're finding for the past at least 3 years that I've been kind of following up the different policies in our schools. There's a lot of talk about climate change, social justice, gender ideology, social emotional learning, and so on and so on and so on. I really did not see much of regular education happening in our schools. The data shows that there's a rapid decline. If you look at our data 40 years back to now, the education level of Cherry Hill schools have declined tremendously for the amount of millions of dollars that we are paying for the schools. Are we the #1 school in New Jersey? No, we're not getting that. We are getting a whole bunch of other distractions that distract us from actually seeing the failures in the schools and correcting them. You are in charge of being fiduciary responsibility to the public who are paying millions and millions of dollars for these schools. We deserve better. We deserve better than ideologies, than politics, than religious divisions. We deserve better than dividing us into subgroups. And I ask you to listen carefully. The diversity, inclusion, and equity is a very risky experiment on this community, especially risking our students into misery and chaos and division. Thank you.
We go back online. And looks like there's no hands online. We go back to the room. If there's anyone who'd like to speak to, please approach the podium. Okay, and no other speakers, so we'll close public comment. Okay, if you could please approach anyone else who's interested, we're going to close public comment as soon as no one's at the podium. So please do approach now. Thank you. If you could please state your name and municipality.
Eric Tien, Cherry Hill. So I wanted to follow up on that last speaker, and I feel like students are not necessarily robots. You know, we're not just here to get good grades. At the end of the day, it's also about learning to be a human, right? And what I really wanted to speak about was considering the guidance given by the White House, you know, 38 million allocated by the DOJ to kind of address the rise in Islamophobia and anti-Semitism in schools today. What is the board planning to do to kind of be in lockstep with the guidance given by the White House? Do you guys have any plans at the board level to also ensure safety and, you know, essentially nipping problems in the bud is kind of how I see it, considering what's happened recently in terms of bullying, right? Nobody wants that. So really my question is, what's the plan of the board to address stuff like that? Thank you.
Okay. If there's anyone who'd like to speak, to please approach the podium, state your name and municipality. Thank you.
Good evening, David Berkovich from Cherry Hill. I am a Cherry Hill resident, father of 3, they attend public school here in the district. And under that lens, I'm asking the board to adopt a policy to address anti-Semitism in the schools. As we know, or I would hope everyone knows, there's been a historic rise in anti-Semitism significantly after the events of 10/7. But even before then, 2022 saw according to the FBI and the ADL, saw the largest number of incidents of anti-Semitism ever recorded. The data started in the 70s for the FBI. And as we know, after 10/7, that rise monumentally increased. The school system is not insulated from that rise. But even if it was, even if board members felt that that's not here in Cherry Hill, I think as administrators, as our leaders, there's a responsibility to be forward looking and to take prophylactic measures to try and nip anything like that in the bud and be reactive to what's going on in the world, in the US, even if you didn't think it was happening here in Cherry Hill. I would suggest to the board that it is happening in Cherry Hill. I believe everyone in this room are aware of the incidents that happened immediately after 10/7 and within the school district. Thank God we haven't had a continuation of those incidents, but I'm imploring the board not to let their guard down, to be forward-looking and to adopt a policy to address anti-Semitism. And with that policy, to teach educators on how to identify it, how to treat it on the different levels, whether it's passive, microaggression, if you will, or overt and blatantly in someone's face. As we know from many scholars and authorities in the field of anti-Semitism, it's morphed. It's not the typical anti-Semitism we see from World War II and in the thousands of years the Jews have faced it. It's a lot of times in modern day anti-Semitism, it's couched in anti-Zionism. It's couched in other forms that have nice labels. And I just implore the board to be forward-looking, be reactive, and adopt a policy that addresses anti-Semitism and protect our students. Protect Jews. We're a minority. We deserve protection like everyone else. Thank you.
Okay. You could please state your name and your municipality. Thank you.
My name is Alice Cobb, and I'm from Voorhees, but I've been in Cherry Hill for 22 years, and I do most of my shopping here because, frankly, you have better shopping. So I interact a lot in Voorhees, so it does affect me, this community. I prepared a whole statement, and I'm very nervous, but I don't want to be redundant, and I'm next to last, so I don't want to repeat. But the nitty-gritty of it is that I would like the board to diligently verify the sources of information that is being taught and cited in our schools, find out who is doing the fact-checking before introducing the material into our curriculum, be stringent about it, and we don't really use books very often now, so it's very difficult to know what our children are being taught. You can't just take the book and flip through it. So that's a concern that we have. And being a teacher is a very difficult job. My sisters are teachers. My maiden name was Mualem, which is teacher in Arabic. And I'm concerned, as an American, Iraqi and Russian immigrant parents and family that came here for a better tomorrow. I was concerned last meeting. Honestly, I'd never been to a board meeting, and I just observed, and I was very concerned. But I think I will leave this meeting feeling very encouraged at what I see. And when I ask the board to help us restore and rebuild the trust we so desperately need, because when I look around, I see a beautiful community that cares about its future very much. So thank you.
Hi there. Wow, this microphone is always like too close or too tall. Hi, I'm Charles Goldberg. I'm a Cherry Hill resident. I'm a clinical psychotherapist. So, I think one of the big things, and we kind of spoke about this a little bit last time, is that, first off, I've been hearing from people that the textbook situation is kind of non-existent in the high school. I think everyone is, which is very scary to me. I think first and foremost, everyone should have a set curriculum. It worries me that certain teachers have the capacity to, share particular articles. And while I believe that every teacher has positive intentions in terms of what they're teaching, at the same time, there is tremendous media bias that's going on. Okay. As I stated last time very clearly, and I will reiterate for you all again today, that right now, anti-Zionism is the newest form of anti-Semitism. These things are one and the same. Another example of this is the first prayer that every Jew on the planet says is the Shema. It literally is Shema Yisrael, Hear O Israel, the Lord is your God, the Lord is one. Okay, so I mean, clearly there's a deep tie between Judaism and Israel. The entire idea of Zionism is the Jewish idea that our home is in Israel. That is what Zionism is. And so it's very easy to manipulate that. Unfortunately, there are a lot of websites out there that, like, for instance, there's something called the Middle East Institute of Understanding, which sounds really good. There is not a single article on that website that actually advocates for the Jewish and or Zionist perspective. Okay, so while I understand that teachers have all the benefits in the world and like they only want to teach the accurate thing, unless you have a solid understanding of the history of that region, it's very, very easy to teach the wrong thing and do the wrong thing. I think also there is a tremendous amount of what seems like gaslighting that happens in media, basically, where one narrative is kind of just turning around the other one, and there's a lot of things that are said that are not really rooted in fact. As we kind of alluded to, there's been plenty said about Israel causing genocide. Statistically, that is not true, even mildly. The fact also that I would say, and this is my big thing that I keep wondering about, is like, October 9th is when I believe that video that people have referenced before came out. It's just a little bit surprising to me that, 2 days after the bloodiest day in Jewish history since the Holocaust, we have students showing up waving Palestinian flags with the intention of antagonizing Jewish students. And we know that for a fact because the IDF had not even responded at that point. So I'm a little bit concerned because there are people who are bullying, there are people who are being antagonized, and I just wonder what's actually being done to protect the Jewish students who are really wondering, why are you doing this to me right now, especially in our most vulnerable state? So anyway, thank you very much for hearing me.
Okay. Please state your name and municipality.
Hi, my name is Sabrine Barakat, and I'm a Cherry Hill resident. I have 4 children in Cherry Hill School District. I just wanted, well, my daughter was one of the ones that was harassed and bullied and cyberbullied by students and their parents. What concerned me most is no one addressed it at the school when it first started. That led to it go further with other students. That's one thing. Another thing is this what didn't just start in October, by the way. A few years ago during COVID, during Google Classroom, the teacher asked my daughter in front of the class, so everyone heard it. And so she asked where she's from. She said, I'm from Palestine. She's like, you mean Israel? She said, no, Palestine. She said, you mean Israel? She said, no, Palestine. She said, Palestine doesn't exist. The teacher told my daughter, Palestine doesn't exist. Another thing, my daughter was getting off the bus last year. I did address it with the school. I did speak to the school about it. My daughter was getting down from the bus last year and she was called a terrorist in front of the other students on the bus that heard it. I told her I was going to go up to the school. She was too embarrassed and afraid she'd be bullied more than that if her mom went up to the school. So I just want to say the Palestinians, I mean, Muslim and being Palestinians is really hard in the Cherry Hill School District. It caused my kids and the word terrorist itself is being thrown around like nothing. I mean, maybe the school can speak to the students and tell them maybe it's a serious word, calling the kids terrorists. It's like thrown around like nothing. I'm not happy with my kids being called terrorists, neither are my kids. And my kids are worried about being bullied if I go up to the school and address it. I hope it's taken care of. Thank you.
Okay, if you could please state your name and municipality.
Moshe Raskin, I'm from Cherry Hill, at least for the last 10.5 years. I'm also a clinical social worker, and I run a company with 25 to 30 different social workers and therapists all over the country. And so we service people from all walks of faith, all colors, every place, which Cherry Hill always reminded me when I moved here of one of those places. But there is a difference between educating our kids and forming a community. And educating them with math, science. Yes, we want all that. But we also have to educate them to be good community members. I want neighbors that are good neighbors. I want my grandchildren to go to these schools to have neighbors that they can count on, despite their religious beliefs, their political beliefs, their color, their cultures, the kind of food they eat, whatever that might be. Earlier today, someone talked about the difference between the equity, what equity is. Equity is not equality. It's not. It's taking groups of people and trying to make up for past events that happened to different groups of people by making other people suffer for them. That's not right. One of the things I hope for this school district, I heard I was watching something on TV, and there was somebody who was writing some curriculum for you, and part of that curriculum had an undertone of anti-Semitism, talking about Zionism as being the next white power surge, the next white Nazism, that kind of a thing. And that is not true. As one of my colleagues said, is that Israel is our homeland as well as America. I was born in America. It's my spiritual homeland. Maybe someday it'll be my land that I move to. We all search for that and want that. I'm hoping that in your curriculum and in the way in which you talk to students, that we can create an area that we have love in our community for each other and respect for our community. During 9/11, I was the only part of the Red Cross, the only person who said, I better get over to the mosque in Rochester, New York. I knew the imam, and I did counseling. He was a little nervous about having me go inside, though I had been inside for prayer before with my son. And I did counseling, emergency crisis counseling for them. And none of those people there were terrorists. And nobody should be calling anybody from the Muslim community a terrorist. Nobody. That's not right. And it's not right for them to call us genocidians, whatever kind of word you want to say, that we're committing genocide. I want Cherry Hill to be a place of love and community. That's why I live here. Thank you.
Thank you. And we go to Beth Becker on the line. If you could please state your name and municipality.
Hi, Beth Becker, Cherry Hill. I haven't written any notes, so I hope that this makes sense. I just feel like every board meeting we are, we're coming up to the microphone and trying to rehash this conflict. And I just have a couple things. First of all, although everyone in this community, Jews and Muslims in Cherry Hill, is affected by this, none of us are responsible for this. I feel that, there has been a lot of hateful rhetoric, a lot of by parents and students. And ultimately, I feel it comes down to a lack of cultural literacy. Students came to school in whatever they were wearing to support the people that either were attacked or knew would bear the repercussions from the attack. But we talk a lot about intent versus impact, what somebody intends with a message or a symbol or words, and the impact that has on the people who see the image or hear the words. But we don't do a lot of that work together. I feel like we don't, like multicultural days, things like that. These are wonderful things where we learned about each other, but we don't work together a lot. We don't have different communities. We have different communities teaching each other, but that's a one-sided type of thing. We need communities of students to come together to work on something jointly. That's the only way that they are going to start having these conversations, start understanding each other, understanding each other's perspectives, learning, oh, your intent wasn't what I assumed it was, or, oh, I see the impact that what I thought and what my intent was innocent, but what impact it had on you. These are the conversations that I feel students just aren't having, and that the district can facilitate. Also, in terms of teachers, I trust that the only teachers who would actually be teaching this conflict would have well-vetted resources. Just because it's not in a book doesn't mean it's not true, and books are problematic.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Matt, you'll say your full name and municipality, please.
Matthew Rentezelis, Cherry Hill. I would like to preface by saying that I'm speaking personally and not as the Cherry Hill East Board of Education representative. I would like to quickly express my support for the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives in our Cherry Hill schools. As a student in the district, I've spoken with many peers who have at times felt uncomfortable as parts of marginalized groups because of the ignorance of students and community members. It's easy to say that everyone in our country is American and should be treated as equal with no reference for identity, but that has not been the case for the whole of America's existence. Discriminatory laws, stereotypes, hate groups, and decisions have seriously hindered our nation's acceptance of racial, religious, and gender/sexuality minorities. We cannot accept diversity blindness to effectively work towards ending ignorance because of the stereotypes and legislation that have harmed perceptions of so many marginalized communities. Instead, we must educate members of the school community so that they are prepared to engage with people of diverse backgrounds and perspectives. This is a skill that is vital not only for student experience in our diverse Cherry Hill community, but also for the rest of a student's life. Finally, Black Lives Matter is not a hate group. Portraying civil rights groups as terrorist organizations or hate groups has historically been used against countless groups that seek to remedy issues of the past, including those of MLK and Nelson Mandela. We cannot allow people to fall victim to these narratives that are purposely manufactured to hinder progression toward equality in our society and keep oppressors in power. Thank you.
Okay. This is our last call. If you have wanting to make a public comment before I close public comment, please approach the podium. And we will end it now. We will close public comment. Thank you, board members, for, well, I'm sorry. I should not. We did not end the meeting. We just closed public comment. Sorry. It's a little too excited to use the gavel. All right. We will move on to acting superintendent comments. Dr. Morton.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ms. Stern. And thank you to everyone who came out tonight and made beautiful comments. Matt, thank you so much for your comments. Truly brilliant and outstanding. I echo what you say. Diversity is not a program. Diversity is a state of being. Diversity means that we are different. So we have there's differences amongst all of us. And I believe that America is the greatest country in the world. I believe that we all are Americans. And as Americans, the beauty of our country is that in spite of our differences, we can come together under one united flag and under a democracy that allows all of us to have a coexistence and all of us to have a place. That's what we're looking for here in the district. That's what it's all about. You know, everybody's important, everybody's included, everybody belongs here in Cherry Hill Public Schools. It's critically important for us. And that's what we're about. And that's what we'll continue to be about as we move forward. We've done in the background a significant amount of work. There have been countless meetings that have taken place. I've referenced them broadly, but I haven't gone into specifics about the individual meetings that have taken place. We've met with the ADL, met with the Israeli American Council. I have a meeting tomorrow with the Muslims for Justice GCLEA group. We're looking to partner and bring in educational opportunities for our faculty and for our students. Anti-Semitism is real. It exists. We've heard it tonight. Islamophobia is real. It exists. We've heard it tonight. There's so many other things as well that I'll put under the umbrella of hate. And, you know, we have to take a stand against all forms of hate, but we have to mutually agree that we stand against hate and that we will ensure that everybody has a sense of belonging. So that's what's important for us. So we've lined up some things already with the High School East at High School East. and partly at High School West as well. I've learned that anti-Semitism has taken on a new face and a new form. We'll have training for the staff over at East on the new form of anti-Semitism in just a few weeks. Hopefully tomorrow's meeting, and many of the people I'm meeting with are here tonight, so I'm going to put some pressure on them, but tomorrow's meeting leads to us partnering to bring about awareness and education on Islamophobia as well, and what that looks like, and what our children are experiencing, and ultimately what we can do to offset that. Students from High School East and West, a busload of students, will be going to the Now is Never Summit, the largest summit and largest gathering on anti-Semitism and hate in March in New York City. So we have a busload of students going down there. We partnered with the Jewish Community Relations Council, who provided the bus for us to send students down to that. Our No Place for Hate effort throughout the entire district is something that we're leaning into. As the weeks and the months progress, we'll be leaning into that more than ever. Student-led initiative, student-led effort moving forward to stand against hate in our community. There's an educational trip that we have scheduled to Washington, D.C., where students, particularly from East, will be going to visit the Holocaust Memorial Museum. They'll visit the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial. They'll visit World War II Memorial, and engage with staff members and members from the community as well about the impacts of hate and what can happen if we allow that to permeate and to get out of control. I'm proud and I'm happy of the individuals who have come forward to say, yes, we have challenges, but we're willing to do something about it. And we're moving forward in that regard. Just another message, another plug for preschool, our preschool informational night, Thursday, 7 p.m. We do have a limited audience because of the fact that it's being held at the Malberg Early Childhood Center, but registration is available. If you go on, you can register to come in person. The meeting will also be live streamed, and it will be available. You'll be able to ask questions and have your questions answered. We want to be transparent. We want to provide clarity, and we want to get as much information out to the community as possible. Last comment, just about the family life health curriculum. As a public institution, as a public district, we are required to implement the standards as they have been outlined by the New Jersey Department of Education. In this year's process, we did streamline the process to allow parents to have the opportunity to opt children out if they did not want children to take part in a specific unit, or if they did not want children to take part in the family life health curriculum in the elementary level. Many parents took part in that opportunity to opt their children out if they didn't feel that they wanted their children to be part of those lessons, more so than ever before, from what we've seen. And that's just the truth and the reality. But if there's questions about something, you can reach out to your child's principal, reach out to your child's department supervisor in a secondary level, and you can ask about specific questions about the content and what is being taught. Rubicon Atlas remains available for curriculum review for the public. And with that being said, I'll close. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Morton. Really appreciate all of your comments. And, sometimes, as you know, you hear me say, it's sometimes very difficult to sit here and listen to so much misinformation that gets shared and taken as fact. So I always appreciate your clarifying and telling the facts. It's really helpful. And I want to also thank Matt. Colin, I always appreciate your input. And Matt, I really want to appreciate and thank you for speaking about your real experience in our school. You're one of many students, right? Many of us have students in the schools, and your one experience is helpful to hear. Thank you. In addition to everything else we hear. So thank you. All right. With that, I will ask for a motion to adjourn. I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? Dr. Rude, all in favor? Aye, motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.